Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. Oh, man. I love it. You know I do. Once again, out in nature. Another beautiful day. The seasons are turning. Spring is on its way. Got a foot in the door already. Oh, man, I love it. I love it. All right. I'm going to get right to it. The title of this is Vengeance is Poison of the Soul. All right. Pretty important video, right? So there's a few different ways that we need to take a look at this, right? Conceptually, it's important, I think, to understand that the concepts of separation mentality and unity consciousness, right? Weigh heavily in this subject matter. And what I mean is, generally one tends to shy away from vengeance, right? As a motive for any behavior when you are absorbed in, encompassing, and living a life of unity consciousness, right? For a couple of reasons. In separation mentality, we're separate from everything, right? People, the planet, situations, everything is over there, right? Even when in fact you don't even have to take that deep or inquisitive of a look to see that many of the things that happen in this world, in our communities, in our circle, in our lives, does affect us in one way or another. And we oppositely affect it. And when you're in unity consciousness, you understand that. You're constantly aware that every decision that you make in your life has an impact in your life that may very well and generally does spill over into not only the lives of others, but just the rest of the planet and the collective in general. Remember, the actions of the microcosm actually do affect the macrocosm and impact the macrocosm, right? We say, well, one person doing something doesn't have that deep of an effect. Well, how do you ever get to 10 people doing something if you don't start with one? How do you get to 100 people doing something if you don't get past 10? How do you get to 1,000 if you didn't pass 100? It always starts somewhere. We need to look at the root cause of things and where things start. And the actions of one very well can impact the collective, right? Or the actions of a few can very well impact the collective, as we see is going on right now. We don't have to look any further than the fact that the socio-economic elites of this world, right, the few, are impacting very greatly the lives of the many or the collective, right? And unfortunately in a negative way, right? For the most part. So we need to understand that that's a part of unity consciousness that plays into this very much so, and separation mentality, because when you view and have that very separate feeling and separate view of everything and everyone else, then you have the ability, right, or the space in your own mind to create opposition, right? And when you create opposition, then you have the potential for enemies, right? Because if you're not at odds with someone, they're not going to be your enemy. So it has to start with that concept of opposition. And how could you be opposite or opposing someone if you don't view them as very much separate from yourself, right? When you have that concept that we are all of the same energy encompassed in your behavior, you tend not to do that because you view everything as connected, right? So it actually doesn't make sense for you to attack, assail, or exert any sort of negative energy toward another thing or person, because you are, in effect, exerting that to yourself. Because, again, in unity consciousness, you understand we are all in some way, if no other way than energetically connected, right? And everything is energy anyway. So that's the biggest way. We all are one. That is the truth, right? So that's very important, excuse me, to understand about where the spirit of vengeance comes from, right? And where you have to be in order for that to creep up in you. You have to be at a place where you are very much in separation mentality, right? You have to, or you tend to be at a place where you don't as much grasp, or maybe you grasp but just decide to not adhere to or accept or be a part of unity consciousness in any way. Maybe you fully understand and grasp it, right? And just say, no, I'm a loner. I want to exist in complete separation from everything and everyone, right? So that's certainly your prerogative, right? But it would only make sense for you to be at a place of vengeance if you are at least first viewing yourself as separate, right? The separation yields the whole concept of you being in opposition or potentially being in opposition with something or someone else. And then being in opposition lends itself to you potentially being in competition with, or even viewing that individual as your adversary, right? In some way. In some way, your enemy, right? Your adversary. So when you've gotten to that point, it only takes, and when I say to that point, I mean when you are at that perception, right? You're very much into separation mentality. You're viewing yourself as separate from others, and you view others potentially as as being in opposition to you, and then that yields itself to potentially viewing them as adversaries or enemies, right? So then, once you're at that place, then all it takes is an incident to have happened or to happen for you to sort of have that doorway to vengeance creep open and allow that into your heart, right? This person did this. I don't like them, and I'm going to get back at them in one way, one way or another. So that's where you end up being. And then we also need to understand from a different perspective that it is self-defeating, right? If you know anything about the Hermetic principles, um, then certainly you understand that through the law of attraction, just your focusing on that low vibrational frequency energy alone is attracting low vibrational frequency energy to you, right? And then specifically with that spirit of vengeance, right? That specific low vibrational frequency, you are drawing that to you, right? Um, because you are focusing on that energy is something that's very much a part of your life, of your personality, of your daily mental process. Whenever you see that person or you think about that person, that feeling, I can't stand them, right, creeps up in you, right? The hair, sometimes it's so intense, the hair could creep up, stand up on the back of your neck. You can find your face gritting, you know what I mean? Or you know, your whole mood can change just with the thought of a person that you have that spirit of vengeance for, right? Um, we all know how deep that can get. So when you have that concentration, when you're focused like that on that energy, you're attracting that energy to you, right? No one is, you know, has a pass on the law of attraction. That's why we need to be very careful about what we focus on, right? What we concentrate on in our lives. Also, there's cause and effect, right? Um, when you take actions, vengeful actions against another, you are putting that out to the universe. And there is, another way to look at it, called the boomerang effect, right? You're putting that energy, that action will have an equal and opposite reaction, right? That will come back on you in some way, shape, or form. Folks who have lived long enough or deep enough, right? Because you don't necessarily have to be old. You just need to have enough experiences that you've gone through, that you have seen it and feel it and understand it. Yeah. Um, when you do things that are, you know, low vibrational frequency, negative, harmful, ill intent, you know, evil, right? When you do those things, you're sending that energy out into the universe, and that boomerang effect will kick in. Um, there will be a reaction coming back to you in some way, shape, or form. It might not always be immediate. And that's where we trick ourselves and start thinking that you done got away with something. You never get away with anything, especially folks who understand and believe or work with the concepts of karma. You definitely know you don't get away with anything, literally. Um, you don't. It will come back to you. Um, which is a side note, is another reason why we do not need to be governed and babysat by some authority over us, right? The universe has that already built into it. You don't get away with anything. So that's a side note I just wanted to throw in there. But yeah, we have to understand that that's some deep energetic expression that we are sending out into the universe, that will reverberate back to you. So the bottom line, or sort of the moral of the story with vengeance, is that it only harms you. And when you tend to carry that in your heart for a long time, because some people develop what we call a grudge, right? When you have a grudge, that's when that vengeful spirit has creeped up into your heart, specifically aimed at an individual or group of individuals, and you hold it in your heart energetically. You hold that for a long period of time, or an extended period of time, and it grows and festers, right? And truly dampens your energy and keeps you, for that entire time that you're holding that grudge, at least partially at a low vibrational frequency state. And why would you want to do that to yourself, right? So again, ultimately, the moral of the story, or the end result of this, is that vengeance is self-harming. It truly is. I know there's some folks that say, well, you don't know what this person did to me, or I understand. You don't have to forget that, right? You don't have to put yourself ever again in a situation to be vulnerable to something like that, whatever they did to you, right? Again, you can learn sort of a lesson from that experience, without carrying that grudge with you, without carrying that intent to see something bad happen to them, right? Because again, all you're doing is keeping your energy in a low vibrational frequency state. So now if you think about it, really, if you really don't like this person, you're giving them another win, right? You are. When you are focusing your energy on another person like that, and you are holding that grudge, or group or whatever, you're holding that grudge, you're giving them so much of your energy, they're winning on you still. You're making them that much more important in your life. They hold so much importance in your life, you can't stop thinking about them. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, right? And if you really don't like them, why would you want to give them that power over you? Nah, you internalize your power. You have better things to think about than to think about someone else in any sort of a negative or low vibrational frequency way. Value your energy and where you're at in your day and in your life, right? More than that, that you don't allow a grudge against anyone to draw you down in an energetic or spiritual way. Own your power, right? Don't externalize your power to someone else in that way. And again, as I said, it's likely going to be self-harmful and self-defeating anyway. Might not always be right away, but one day, some type of way, some way, shape, or form, you'll be ending up harming yourself, right? So we got to learn to let things go. As difficult as it may be, again, you don't have to forget. But to have that spirit of forgiveness, that's actually, if I could describe it spiritually or energetically, that is actually what forgiveness feels like. I was getting ready to say it, to let that spirit of forgiveness wash over you. It literally feels like you're washing that bad experience or that negative energy toward that person or group or individuals, whatever. It feels like you're literally washing it off of you. Like you're washing it off of your spirit, off of your soul, right? So don't, don't allow that grudge or that vengeance to stain you, right? Wash it off of you with forgiveness, and move on, and you'll be that much better for it, right? Healthier mentally, spiritually, and physically. Folks, believe it or not, that vengeance, that grudge is a form of stress as well. That's another thing. It's literally not physically healthy for you. You don't believe me? Ask your doctor, or you ask your, your physician. Ask if you're a little more inclined like myself. Ask your healer, right? Ask your someone who you trust as a spiritual leader what vengeance does to you. It is self-eroding, and like I was just saying, it's a form of stress, right? It's a form of stress, and it's not healthy for you. So, be good to yourself. Stay on the path to being your best self, and allow forgiveness to wash all of that off you. The vengeance, the grudges, all that negative, low vibrational frequency energy. Allow forgiveness to wash that off you. Don't forget, learn the lesson, right? And become that much wiser from the experience. But allow forgiveness to wash that off you, right? All right, I think we covered a little something. One more again out here in this beauty. And you know what it is, worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. I'm out.